There are rumors circulating around that Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige is having doubts about bringing the Russo brothers back to the MCU following the disaster that was The Electric State, their latest Netflix movie that reportedly cost around $320 million for them to produce, the most expensive Netflix movie to date, and it only saw around 25 million views during its first week. Now, that might sound like a lot, but you have to keep in mind Netflix has produced movies for a fraction of this budget that have brought in more than double the amount of audiences that we saw for this movie. Couple that with the fact that the reception to it wasn't that good. You can see critic score, it was only 15%, 71 for audiences, which is just kind of mediocre at best for a Netflix movie of this scale. And perhaps Kevin Feige is looking at this and thinking, was it really the right decision to bring the Russo brothers back? Because they have a decent track record with the MCU, but maybe they've kind of lost their spark and they're not necessarily the guys that are really the ones that hang your hat on when you're trying to revitalize the audience interest in the MCU, since a lot of them have checked out in the last several years. When the Russo brothers were announced to return to the MCU to direct Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, the Marvel fanbase lost their collective minds. After all, the Russos are behind four of the MCU's biggest and best films to date: Captain America: The Winter Soldier and Civil War, and Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. However, outside the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the duo haven't found anywhere near as much success. Their last cinematic venture, The Electric State, was far from from the hit Netflix were hoping for. Word of its failure has reportedly reached Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, and he could be rethinking Marvel's strategy of bringing the Russos back. And just kind of looking at their filmography over the last couple years, I got Anthony Russo pulled up on IMDb, and you can see since Avengers Endgame, he's only directed 3 other movies, and they were just kind of mediocre at best. Didn't really have huge audiences for them. Has he written anything that's of note? I mean, he did write the Extraction movies. I thought those were pretty good. But other than that, not a whole lot. Let's jump over to Joe Russo. I think it's similar for him. Because they always work together. So he's only directed Cherry, The Gray Man, and now The Electric State. All 3 of those movies didn't really have much of an impact. And writing credits, pretty much the same thing. Like I said, I like the Extraction movies, but it doesn't seem like they've really done a whole lot since then. So maybe this for them is also just kind of retreating back to the well, going back, because you look at their work with Marvel. They have the Avengers movies, Infinity War and Endgame, Civil War, and then even between Civil War and Winter Soldier, there really wasn't a whole lot of note there. Even before that, no, not really. It seems like these guys are really the only thing of prominence that they've actually done has been their work for Marvel, which is probably why they're willing to actually come back, albeit for a huge paycheck. According to Insider and Scooper, My Time to Shine H, Kevin Feige is starting to have doubts over the Russos' ability to give the MCU the giant blockbuster it desperately needs. With the MCU's rocky history over the past 6 years, Avengers Doomsday will be a make-or-break moment for the franchise. Given their Marvel track record, bringing the Russos back made sense when it was first announced. But looking outside their MCU filmography, things get a lot more shaky. My Time to Shine H said, I hear Feige and Marvel are getting worried about seeing how bad the Electric State is and are starting to reconsider whether rehiring the Russos was a mistake. I don't think it's... I can understand why someone would be thinking that at this time frame. It seems only natural you hired these guys because, I mean, if you're Kevin Feige, just picture it this way. It's like they've done a phenomenal job with Marvel, and they've done a lot of great movies. They ended it off with Avengers Endgame, which was the biggest, I think it's the biggest money maker in the entire MCU. And then they left to do some other stuff. You've been kind of floundering for the last several years. So you're like, okay, the guys who've been helping us a lot in the past, let's bring them back and see what they can do. And then you see the latest thing that they've dropped, and it was just a huge money waste for the studio that they were working for. So I can see why Kevin Feige might be looking at that and thinking like, was this really the right decision? Now, is this actually going to affect anything? Well, time will only tell. The Electric State was the Russo's first attempt at a big budget. Calling $320 million big might be an understatement. Sci-fi action blockbuster. The film was modestly popular on Netflix despite most critics ripping it to shreds. However, it was far from the international mega hit the streamer was hoping for based on the budgetary investment. Additionally, the Russos' past 2 non-MCU films, The Gray Man and Cherry, also failed to live up to expectations. And just kind of going back to the Electric State, the reason why I think this one would be a little bit more of note is because unlike Cherry or The Gray Man, this one is one that feels like it's kind of catering towards the same demographics or a similar enough demographic as the MCU is trying to capture. And even if they didn't have much success with The Gray Man or Cherry, those are different audiences entirely. But these are the guys who did a good job with the MCU in the past. But when they're trying to do something with the same audience in mind, it doesn't seem to hit with them, which suggests maybe they have kind of lost their sparks after leaving Avengers Endgame. It should first be noted that the above scoop comes with no substantial evidence to support it. However, it is a thought shared by many Marvel fans who sat through the Electric State, and it is also guaranteed to have been a concern raised by Kevin Feige at Marvel Studios HQ. I think that is reasonable right there because there is, like it says, there's no evidence to support this, but it does seem like it's something that has probably been brought up by Marvel Studios. Now, whether or not this is actually going to materialize in anything, I personally have my doubts about it. I don't think we're going to hear a story, at least anytime soon, about Kevin Feige replacing the Russos, especially since they brought back Robert Downey Jr. for the MCU. And from what I understand, he was the reason why the Russo brothers also came back. He said if he was coming back, they would have to come back with him, and presumably they're all getting a huge payday. So if they were to fire the Russo brothers, then I think Robert Downey Jr. will have something in his contract that says he can leave, and I doubt he's going to do that, and I doubt Marvel would let him go after making the big announcement that he's coming back. If that was the case, even though I kind of disagree with having him back as Doctor Doom, or even bringing him back to the MCU to begin with, I think it was a good move by the fan base because I think there's more people out there who would like to see him return to the MCU. So doing anything to the Russo brothers might jeopardize that, and I think Kevin Feige is more concerned about that than just letting them produce a movie that might not necessarily be great. It's way too late for Marvel to back out of their deal with the Russos. Avengers Doomsday has been written and cast, and it is set to begin production next month. Fans are hoping that Doomsday will follow suit with the Russos' past MCU success rather than their external flops. And I disagree that it's too late to do anything. A movie could be well into production before you could pretty much be done with principal photography, and you can still fire the directors and bring on someone else to do a lot of reshoots and other things like that. I don't know how their contracts work or how they're specified, whether or not stuff like that can be done, but still, studios have done that in the past, even for major movies like this. So I want to say it's too late because they're about to begin production in a month, but still, for reasons I already stated, I don't see them actually firing the Russos anytime soon. But there is, I think, kind of, I want to say necessarily a silver lining to this, but something positive, because just going back to their IMDb pages, you can see the Marvel movies they had on here, they didn't write. They didn't write The Electric State either. It was, I believe, based off of a book. But it seems like maybe they're just a couple directors that have a knack for directing Marvel stuff. We don't know for sure, but one thing is for sure, the best movies that they've ever done were Marvel movies. So maybe if they come back to the MCU, that will be another good movie for them. It's not unheard of for directors to excel in one area, but then they fail on other stuff and they kind of have to go back to a franchise that they're known for. maybe they can produce Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, and those movies turn out to be great, and it's just they're not good at making other stuff. And if that's the case, I think that's fine. And maybe Kevin Feige is also considering that too, because he's looking at their past films and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't really anything special without Marvel, but they did a good job when they're working for us. And the team that they have, not only that the Russos are bringing on, but also the people behind the scenes at Marvel, maybe they just have something between them and the Russos, and they can actually make this work. Time will only tell, but let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think it's reasonable that Kevin Feige would be having doubts about bringing the Russos back, or do you think this is just a huge nothing and everything's going to be fine? Comment below, let me know. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.